Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today to discuss a very interesting topic on emerging technology trends in the CNI rooftop solar market in India. The event is organized by JMK Research, a market research and consulting firm focusing on renewable and e-mobility segments. The session is supported by IFA, Institute of Energy Economics and Financial Analysis, a leading think tank that analyzes issues related to energy markets, trends, and policies. The session is sponsored by LONGi, a global leading manufacturer of high-efficiency monocrystalline solar cells and modules, and GoodWe, a leading global manufacturer of string inverters. Quickly on the format of the webinar. The webinar will consist of interactive discussion with our eminent speakers, followed by a question-answer session. At the end, we will have 15 minutes for question-answer session. We will take some of the questions from the audience here. Participants are welcome to submit their questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of the webinar window. And now to take on the discussions today, before we start with our discussions today, I want to share some of the insights on the rooftop solar capacity addition trends in India. As you can see from this chart, clearly in last 4 years, almost 2 gigawatt of rooftop solar capacity has been added in India. And more than 75% of this capacity is contributed by CNI segment. For 2021, our estimates are that the rooftop solar capacity addition will be around 2.5 gigawatt, out of which more than 1.8 gigawatt will be contributed by the CNI segment. Next slide, please. So as you can see from the last slide, the rooftop CNI market is constantly growing, and it is also exploring new technology developments and solutions to increase the share of RE electricity generation because of the limited on-site and rooftop spaces. Some solutions offer considerable value addition in terms of energy generation, while others are viable only in specific sites and applications. So some of the new trends that are being explored in the India market include adoption of large format modules, more than 400 and 500 watt peak series modules, adoption of bifacial modules depending on site specific conditions, adoption of battery storage for specific applications, RE plus EV solutions for solar carports, and BIPV technology for new commercial buildings. And we have done a detailed analysis of different kind of technology solutions that are being adopted. And based on some of our discussions with the industry people, some of our own internal analysis, we have tried to put down everything in this matrix actually. And we have compared, the on-site solar or rooftop solar installations with the poly or multi-crystalline modules. How is that different from a higher wattage module or a bifacial module, or along with the battery storage? So from this matrix, you can see on-site solar installation with poly modules. Typically, 3.6 to 3.8 units are generated on a per kilowatt basis. The installation cost for such a system on per kilowatt basis on a pre-tax is 32,000 to 34,000 INR. Payback period, if the installation on a CAPEX model, the payback period for the end consumer is around 3 to 4 years. And if the project is installed on an OPEX model, the typical tariff range for such installations is 3.7 to 3.9 per kilowatt hour. Estimated cost savings in electricity bill for the end consumer is in the range of 30 to 35% for this installations. And this installation is the most common type of installations in India right now. Majority of installations are less than 500 kilowatt peak size for this case. Now, the new things that are being adopted in the rooftop CNI market that we have seen is on-site solar installations with higher wattage modules, more than 400 and 500 watt peak series now. For these specific installations, the specific yield is typically 4 to 4.5 units are generated on a per kilowatt basis. The system cost is marginally higher, 34,000 to 36,000 is the range. Payback period is also 3.5 to 4 years for this. And if the installation is on an OPEX model, the typical OPEX tariff that is prevailing is 3.6 to 3.9 per unit. And savings are also marginally a bit higher. For these kind of installations, a customer can save around 35 to 38% cost in the electricity bill. Next is the on-site solar with bifacial modules. So the bifacial modules are only can be installed in specific sites where the installations are ground mounted, or they are either on RCC roofs, and where the plant premise the plant capacity is ideally should be in the range more than 1 megawatt or 2 megawatt plus. So for bifacial modules, typically there are 5 to 6 units of electricity that are generated on a per kilowatt basis. The cost is 38,000 to 41,000 per kilowatt basis. The payback period is a little bit lesser on 3 to 3.5 years because of the higher generation. Also, the OPEX tariffs are a little bit lesser, 3.4 to 3.7 per unit basis for such cases. An estimated cost savings in electricity bill for these installations are 35 in the range of 35 to 40%. And lastly, as you can see, the on-site solar installations with battery storage. So here again, the number of units are 3.5 to 5 units per kilowatt that can be generated. The system cost is as high as 70,000 to 80,000 rupees on a per kilowatt basis. Payback period is 7 to 8 years. OPEX tariff is also prevailing in the range of 7 to 9 rupees per kilowatt hour. For these cases, again, the estimated savings around 30 to 35%. Presently, battery storage is viable for consumers requiring savings on peak time of day tariffs, peak load balancing, and DG replacement mainly in India. Next slide, please. So basis some of these insights and some of these analysis, we have launched a report on emerging new technology trends in CNI. All of this analysis can be downloaded from our website for the same. With this backdrop and with these insights and discussions, for today's session, the agenda will be to discuss on the new inverter technology trends that are shaping up rooftop solar market in India. How is the adoption of bifacial modules going to evolve in rooftop CNI market in India? Battery storage adoption trends in CNI segment, scope of RE plus EV solutions, and potential of BIPV technologies. And to take on this discussion today, we have a very diverse set of industry experts with us today. We have Dr. Gabriel Cooper, Distributed Renewable Energy Specialist from IFA. We have Mr. Arijit Mitra, DGM Longi, Mr. Vipin Bhardwaj, Sales Manager India from Goodwe, Mr. Sanjeev Jha, Head of Operations, USolar, and Mr. Randeep Bora, Vice President, SunSource. Thank you everyone to be part of this discussion today. And without taking much time, we would like to start our discussions with the panelists today. And we would like to start with Vipin, you first. Over to you, Vipin.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Jyoti. So first of all, I would like to thank JMK to organize this fruitful and technologist webinar. So I'm happy to see like this panel is completely full with a different segment of the solar industry. So I'm Vipin Bhardwaj. I take care sales in India for Goodwe. And Goodwe is a prominent supplier of inverters in India market from last 4 years. And we have been serving our client with a install base of more than around 1 gigawatt. So yes, since this webinar is inclined towards the CNI and rooftop segment, so I am taking a pride to say that we are having a good market share in that segment also. So you see, we always see India as a project market, and the major project comes for the rooftop segment in the C&I, right? Everybody knows that. So in that particular segment, earlier people were just using around majorly 300 watt peak, 350 watt peaks modules. Now the era has been completely changed. The module size has been going up to 500, 400 kilowatt. Then 400 watt peak, sorry. And similarly, inverter are also in line with the technology. So we are also capable to match the module technologies in terms of compatibility. So since the agenda is in line with the many good topics, so we will be discussing further on that. So thank you very much this is from my side. So now over to you, Jyoti.
Yes, Vipin. Vipin, we would like to get few more insights on, what are the new inverter technology trends that you are seeing in this India market, how the inverter technology has been evolving. Are there any global examples that you can share here which might be adopted in India market?
Yeah, Jyoti, you see market in rooftop, you see all projects are different, look like similar to each other, but they are having different considerations, different condition of the sites, right? So technology play a vital role to cater that kind of projects. Now people are having majorly conscious about the roof space, land space. So that's why things are getting changed, and product coming to market with a very efficient manner. Let's say if we will talk about previous 2 years, 3 years, then the whole design was around 400 watt peak module. Now it's around 500 or 5 600 even. So the challenge is also coming when you are having a new product to the market. So that invites some challenges as well. So when you ask me about the new technology, yes, technology is there. That is the highest watt peak module, 500, 550, 200, 210 mm cells has been used in that kind of modules. So where people are also facing some challenges in terms of current of module. So that is a very hot topic of market. Even every inverter players are looking and trying to give a solution to the market. Yes, inverter are there to support that kind of solutions. To for Goodwe side, I can tell you that we are also bringing some, already launched some inverters that are uh, mostly compatible with this kind of modules. Our range from 1 kilowatt to 120 kilowatt, except few models, all are compatible with this kind of modules, where the ISC current or the MPPT current is quite higher compared to the previous range of modules. And coming to the bifacial, yes, that is again, you see, again a current interest of the market, because people are putting their interest and their finance and the time in the solar project. They also want to evaluate and explore what are the maximum possible ways to get more generations, to get early ROI something. So in that case, they evaluate bifacial as well as monoperk, monocells. So many things, many technologies they are exploring. So in bifacial, there was a challenge also just for the current, because earlier inverter used to come with the 11 ampere current per string. Now inverter which are available in market from Goodwe side, it is with 15 ampere. Even we are having some of model series which we are coming up with 20 ampere per string current. So that will be completely compatible with that kind of modules, because when you design a plant, first product you select, that is module, right? And when you're selecting a module, efficient means like to use less space, to give more generations, to use latest technologies. So that comes as a 550 or 600 watt peak modules, 550 or 500. So that comes with a challenge of current, right? So that challenge, I think we are able to mitigate now. So Goodwe inverters are majorly compatible with that kind of solutions. So that is something technology, advanced technology, or you can say in line with the recent requirement from the market, we are there. And coming to new part, apart from this module, in an inverter, compatibility will with module is major thing. Apart from that, you need to think about the safety of the plant. You need to think about the O&M aspect of the plant. You need to think about the communication of the plant, right? So for safety wise, we are having many good features with our inverters that has been latestly evolved in this market. That is something DC spark judgment. So like if there is any DC side spark on the DC side, our inverter can judge and inverter can give alarm. So, and on AC side as well, some kind of temperature detection, humidity detection. So that is a part of safety, you can say. So if there will be any fault on AC side, DC side, that can be alarmed by the inverter itself. So it can save a bit of loss if it is going to be happen.
Thank
And
you.
secondly on and secondly on the communication side, uh, earlier people were used to have RS485 cables and the whole orthogonal logics to use the communication. They were developing the plants with the RS485 cable daisy chains. They need to keep the chains running, and the whole system they need to maintain. Majorly the O&M part was very critical for communication, right? So we are enabling our inverter with the PLC, so power line carrier communications. So that could be a really advantage for the market. So in that case, like now we are seeing a lot of ground projects are happening, right? So we are having some of installation in India as well, working installation, where we have supplied PLC as a solution for communication. So like in 15 meg in Gujarat, we have supplied a project of 115 megawatt that was with PLC. So some of site wise, some of site of that project was with PLC. So you see that kind of technology changes we are also bringing to the inverter that gives a comfort to a designer, to a investor, to a project manager to consider the inverter and to have a reliable product.
Thank you, Vipin. Good to know that the inverter technology is also evolving along with the higher efficiency of the panels. So to continue our discussion on this thing, I think Arijit, you are the best person here who can share some interesting insights on how bifacial modules are going to be whether first question is whether that is going to change the new trends, new installation trends in India. What are the global trends that you can see, which you think might be looked in India market as well going forward? Over to you, Arijit.
Thank you very much, Jyoti, and good afternoon to everyone. It's such a wonderful panel. I means, as you said that I am the best person to judge. Guess me, I'm not, because people who are sitting in front of me, Randeep sir, Sanjeev sir, they are like they're using the panel. They're evaluating it every day. They know the best. And again, Vipin, I think you have enlightened us with the change in inverter technology. So this is a wonderful discussion. Yes, change is the only constant everywhere. So my subject is bifacial today, and basically adoption of bifacial technology. So I'll split it into two parts: adoption of bifacial technology in the solar market globally, and then adoption of bifacial in India. We have already shipped about 10 gigawatt of solar bifacial solar module across the globe. So the change is already happened. It has been adopted. There was a previous change from polytechnology to mono-PERC. The change has happened. Now it is towards bifacial technology for sure. India, I hate to I hate to term this as a price sensitive market, or they adopt technology late. But yes, India solar industry is a very budding, and it is a very young industry. So it takes its own time to evaluate every technology and adapt it. But what I can see is the changes happening drastically, and this is going to we will see this change very soon. We are, as a module supplier, we are seeing the change in, especially in CNI sector. For bifacial, albedo is the main thing. But despite of that, when we have tested our modules in various conditions, the worst of albedo we get it in grass, and the best albedo you can get in a painted roof, white background basically. The worst of albedo condition, we have seen 10% bifacial gain, and that's enough if you can actually justify the price difference. Now in India, we have tested in various conditions. The testing started with basically testing in TUV in their facility, and with white gravel the bifacial gain was somewhere around 19.3%, and in various other conditions the bifacial gain was really good. Now when it comes to the real time installation condition, we have already installed bifacial modules in India and manywhere. There are large installations going on. I'm sure they takes time to get commissioned, and those newses will come in the future. But we also do small supplies where we have seen the bifacial gains are somewhere between 10 to 15% in the worst albedo situation. So in that case, this also justifies the calculation of justification of the price difference. I'm sure Randeep sir and Sanjay sir will be able to comment on that how they are thinking on that direction when they are going to adopt this. And I'm sure they are watching the market and how things are changing. And this is something I'm sure India as a very mature in thinking and young in the energy of the solar industry. So I'm sure they will be adapting very soon. We're waiting for that time. Globally, bifacial technology is already a sensation. And change is a constant. As I said, there will be new technologies coming up, TOPCon is coming, and then a lot of things will happen. But there are again boundary condition, as you are also mentioned, the size of module. It's a very interesting discussion. I'm sure if I can add into that, uh, the module sizes were increasing time to time, from 300 to 400 to 500, now 600, 700. I'm very sure I'm very soon will see 1 kilowatt module. So if that's so, this mobile would have already become a tab, but there is a boundary situation. We can have a mobile which we can hold. So we have boundary situation. Longi being a pioneer, we have always analyzed that bigger is not always the better. So you have to improve the technology, but a mobile has to be, something that you can hold in your hand. It can't be this big because it comes with a big screen. So it's analogy, but again, we have done so many boundary condition analysis, and as Vipin mentioned, that there are situations where they have to change their current carrying capability because of the module change in module technology. Those are something we have seen that these are not good, because every string, every inverter has a limitation. Every solar installation has a limitation, and that is the reason uh, we are also limiting ourselves within certain limit, and then we are expanding our technological innovation. It cannot be that you are growing, and then there is no technological evolution. So technological evolution is happening, and definitely Longi will lead into that, because Longi has always shown the way. So with that, I will conclude my remark, and I'm sure I'm actually eager to listen to our fellow panelists than just speaking. So thank you.
Thank you, Arijit. Good to know that the trend is picking up, but let's hear it from some of our developers and EPVC players who are on our panel today to understand what's their experience been. Randeep, I would like to talk to you first. Maybe some bit of insights if you have. I know it's not part of our focus discussion, but if you already have some experience with the bifacial modules, you can add on some insights. But I want your insights to be more focused on the adoption of battery storage in the rooftop CNI market. Over to you, Randeep.
Yeah, thanks, Jyoti. I have mostly been working on the storage space of late, the last 1.5 to 2 years or so. I have a very short presentation of maybe 5 to 6 slides. I would like to share that. Hope that's fine.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, sure. The slide visible?
Yes.
So hello everyone. I'm representing SunSource Energy. I lead the energy storage and the tendering business, and working in the segment for around 15 years or so. Mostly in the CNI only, last 10 years. And before that, I was working mostly as a bit of bioenergy and various other segments, but has been in the distributed space. And now with the focus moving on from solar to storage plus solar being a norm in next couple of years, we feel that this is something which we need to catch up as soon as possible. And going ahead, this will be more and more predominant in the entire CNI space as well as the utility space, because of the various constraints that we see today. So yeah, so quickly run through a couple of slides. A brief about the company. SunSource is now part of the SHV Energy Group. SHV Energy is a 125-year-old entity based out of Netherlands, and they have recently acquired majority stake in SunSource, and we are now part of that entity. Which this helps. In fact, this is a big step for us, because this helps us in expanding our existing portfolio of around 125 megawatt odd projects, and we are now currently developing open access projects, rooftop projects, storage projects across India and Southeast Asia, quantifying to around 350 megawatt odd plus in next say around 12 months or so, which and we see that by say end of next July 2022, we will be hanging around 400 to 450 megawatt of projects, of CNI specific projects across India and in the Southeast Asian market. We are also present in US and the other places where we are designing solutions for end users. We are not exactly executing, but execution is done through local partnership. But then we are off taking the entire design and engineering process from those markets and doing it efficiently in India. So we have a significant large team to do that. Yeah. So yeah, so currently we work in 3 modes. One is the on-site rooftop projects that we do in SunSource, and then the open access projects that we are developing in UP and Maharashtra and a couple of other states, maybe in Karnataka, in Chhattisgarh as well. And then the energy storage solutions. Rooftop, we have been doing it for last 10 odd years since the beginning. Started with design engineering and then we became a developer last 4-5 years. Open access, we have been working quite aggressively in UP. We are already developed around 50 megawatt of projects, and then another 40-45 megawatt of projects are getting commissioned, as we say. And then moving on to energy storage, which is the topic, is that we are, I would say, we are the only company. We are executing 3 megawatt scale projects for SECI in Lakshadweep, Kaza, and Andaman. To give a sense of it, I'll go. I have a slide on it, but then what we have exactly seen, like there have been multiple tenders and there have been a lot of inquiries across India, but actually the market has not picked up in India because obviously, as all my fellow panelists said, that it's dominated by the price sensitiveness of the projects. Today, the rooftop project tariff hover between say 3.5 to 4 rupees. When you add on storage, it simply doubles, or it's in some cases it's more than that. So although it is a viable option and it's a reliable thing there, but then with the kind of tariffs you are getting from a rooftop project, until and unless you are completely dependent on DG sets, it's still a solution where people are hesitant to put in their money today. And as like solar, it happened 5 years back. Everybody wanted to wait till the prices go down. Storage is also seeing the similar kind of thing where people are waiting to waiting for the prices to further fall, which has fallen down significantly by say around 90% in last 10 years or so. So why are we talking of CNI specifically? Because we feel that the grid tariffs for the industrial customers keep on rising on a day-to-day basis, and we see that the DISCOM losses have significantly grown. And although there have been a lot of restructuring by the Power Ministry, but those the past baggages that the DISCOMs have been carrying, it's very, and the only solution is that the power prices will go up eventually, and I don't, and it has been going on and off with at an escalation rate of around 5-6%, and even today. So when you talk of industrial custom tariffs, it's around 7 to 9 rupees in most of the states, and in commercial tariffs, it's more than that. It's like around 8 rupees to, in Maharashtra it is around 15 rupees or so. So already, even if you compare with the I would say the grid tariffs, the storage solutions are viable in some of the states and some of the specific locations and the consumer segment. Then also the comes about the demand reduction. There are many industries where you have, for example, you have a running load of 150, but you have taken a connection of 250 kVA, just because there are some months in a year where your production shoots up and you utilize the added capacity. So with storage, you can clip that the cost of the fixed charges that you pay to the DISCOMs. You say for around 100 odd kVA, you pay around 400 rupees. 400 into 100 odd is around a significant number. So those kind of monthly costs that you can reduce, and it can be an addition to the savings that you build on with replacing DG or grid. Then in most of the states, as you see, there is a time of this time of day concept has come in, and although it's not reflective of the exact cost of procurement of power which the generation companies or are selling it to the DISCOMs, but then there is still a delta of around 1.5 rupees to 2 rupees in the TOD concept. So yeah, so there also you have an energy arbitrage where we can store in the peak hours during the solar hours, and you can use it some of the power which will negate that 2 rupee additional charge that you pay to the discoms. And then obviously at the grid scale, you can, with storage, you can reduce the lot of investment that goes in by the transmission network to develop the transmission network, which eventually takes a lot of time. And but today, what is the ready case is obviously the DG sets, replacement of diesel, because per unit of diesel cost anywhere between 20 rupees to around 30 rupees with the kind of diesel cost going up on a day-to-day basis. But then obviously the power situation overall in the country has evolved, but there are pockets in the remote islands, in the Himachals or in the northeast or in various other Chhattisgarh remote areas where there is significant potential of such solutions being deployed to some extent to at least create that hype and know-how and the technological, I would say, expertise within the country, which is lacking, I would say, within the country and within the solar community to go ahead and demonstrate these projects for the coming years when the cost will significantly come down, I presume. What advantages do they get? Obviously, diesel is one. You are running, you're offsetting the diesel as it's because it will reduce your carbon emissions significantly, and also the cost in terms of cost saving, you will have significant saving. I say if you are directly replacing 2 hours of DG sets running with storage, then you are getting power at say around 10-12 rupees, which is vis-a-vis 24-25 rupees. It's almost half the price a diesel set can provide. And these are this is a easy solution for all DG set that are running in across the country. We'll come to one specific case study as well. You can optimize on the peak power demands, and you can self-regulate how much power using. And also, there is a case where today there are a lot of industrial customers who already have solar. So, but then at that same point, they are not able to use the solar at some points of time. For example, in the lunch hours, there is a say there is a 2 megawatt of plant, and the lunch hour for 1 hour, the power the requirement drips to say 500 kilowatt. That 1.5 megawatt of power which is getting generated. In most of the cases, you are not able to export it to the grid because there is a limitation of 1 megawatt capacity in the grid feeding in most of the net metering allowed states. So you are kind of curtailing those power the rooftop units. So those power units can be utilized and you can be stored in a battery, and then you can be later utilized in the evening hours. So specifically, a couple of scenarios that we have worked out. One in UP, one in Maharashtra. So this is a typical case where this is a locality. This is a major district center where we're talking about. Even in places like Muradabad or Lucknow or Allahabad, you will be seeing at least 1 or 2 hours of power cut. And these are not like a continuous power cut. These are like 15 minutes, 20 minutes kind of thing, which happen in a 24-hour schedule. So even for those the challenge, those consumers we had evaluated, they already had a 3 megawatt solar plant, having a battery storage of around, they plan to have a battery storage of say 1.5 megawatt, and what we could figure out that they can use the excess power during the lunch hours, which when the running load goes from 4 megawatt to 600 kilowatt, then the entire power can be stored in the batteries, and then it can be used in the evening hours. So now when you compare on the payback terms, when it partly you can utilize to replace the grid in the peak hours, and also you can use it to like replace the DGRs whenever there's a power cut for 15-hour slots. So then you can get a payback of say around 5 to 6 years kind of a thing. And then we are comparing with a completely replacement of DG sets in Maharashtra, where this is for an industrial customer, commercial customers pay more, where you can similarly for 100 kilowatt to 300 kilowatt BESS, you can have a I would say payback of around 4 to 5 years when you are replacing DG. But the challenge still remains that lithium-ion as on date is not the only solution that is available in the market. There are various other solutions like flow batteries, sodium sulfide batteries, and there are other technologies as well, aluminum oxide, zinc oxide. So these kind of technologies will be more predominant for the storage application. Lithium-ion predominantly is for compact nature, is more high density, can be used more in the vehicles. But then for storage, for the stationary storage, which is like 4-5 hours of backup or more, if wherever there is a requirement, the newer technologies obviously will be coming up pretty soon. A couple of projects that we have been executing. One is the Himachal project that we are currently executing, another Lakshadweep, another project that we are executing in Andaman, which is not mentioned, and the Barrage project, the number on the left, that has been running for around 7 years. But that project we had executed in 2013, but that uses lead acid batteries, but then it has been running fine. And it's with like reduction of DG consumption significantly by around 50% in the evening hours. They had a great saving, and they are pretty happy with the entire supplies. Now we are in the process of replacing the tubular acid batteries with lead acid batteries. In Kaza and the Lakshadweep project, these are both different. Kaza is primarily it's like there is a hydro plant where we are synchronizing with the local grid. But then in the winter months, when the temperatures are -25, then the hydro plant hardly works. So the objective is powering those homes where there is no electricity for 4-5 months, I would say. I think it's a great honor for Sunsource and me as well personally to actually get involved in such a project where you are actually directly impacting the lives of people where there is no electricity for even for the schools, for reading, for any other household activities in Kaza. And this project will be definitely be commissioned by end of next June or so. Lakshadweep also, it's similar case. This is completely replacement of DG sets running in the main and 3-4 islands. In a couple of the islands, there is hardly any grid. There are only some street lights and mini grid kind of a thing with old lead acid batteries, which we are replacing with lithium-ion. And this will be operational by end of this year. So I think a module and the entire process has worked out. So kind of what I'm trying to focus is that this creates a platform for us. And similarly, we are executing. We're trying to execute a couple of CNI clients as well. But CNI, the challenge is that in the mainland, it's very difficult to find those niche areas where you can play around with complete DG replacement or all kind of challenges. And the customers are very sensitive to the tariffs. That's why I think it's picking up, but it's picking up slightly slow vis-a-vis these remote locations. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Randeep, for giving us such insightful presentation, and the examples and the comparisons you have shown. I think they're pretty good examples for the industry to understand how this market is evolving. I will come back to you with few more questions, sure. But let's next hear it from our next panelist on board, which is Mr. Sanjeev Jha from U Solar. Sanjeev, I know I have again talked to you about talking more about BIPV, but I believe you've also done installations with battery storage as well as something on floating solar as well. So I leave it open house for you, up to you, what you want to share, and if you have any insights to share on bifacial module installation trends in rooftop CNI market as well. Over to you, Sanjeev.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Sanjeev. I head business and operation in U Solar, and we are a 10-year-old company. We've done more than 100 megawatts and mostly in the tech innovative sectors, like we have done BIPV, which is 800 kilowatt, which is one of the India's largest vertical segment installation. Then we've done storage for one of our customer, BigBasket, where it's in the OPEX model. So it's basically a replacement of DG with the storage and solar. Then we're trying one 20 megawatts floating to be executed in next few months. That's some R&D and some research is going on that, those kind of projects. So basically, being 10 years in experience with seeing the market from the beginning, we have been and we keep doing some innovative projects where we can showcase our engineering and experience and keep building and solar technology in the different, keep using the different technologies, whatever we have in the market, like bifacial, lithium-ion batteries, and then floating technologies. So coming back to the BIPV, which we have done in Navi Mumbai, it was 800 kilowatt, where we have used 12 glass-to-glass modules. And so it's basically BIPV technology is a bit of, we have to start from the architect stage itself, where we need to design the system in such a way that it integrates with their building structure, and then how to integrate the inverters. The inverters also, it can't be traditional inverters. It has to be optimizer based or micro inverter based. And then whole things needs to be planned ahead during the construction of the building itself, where you have all the cabling and everything planned out, and there's no rework at the later stage. Then it works out well for the commercial customer, where they have the plan of doing the glass on their roof. Where since you have already the structure and everything planned, you can just replace the glass with the models, and ROI works out to be better. But if it's RCC and then you need to have a structure and everything done, then ROI gets increased, and we haven't seen much viability on those cases. But we keep getting the inquiries where the glass has been planned and can you replace with the modules. That's where the market we are trying to pitch in, and we have been getting few other projects in the similar scenarios. And so in the generation, as far as we see the current data and all, it's 50% of whatever we get in the rooftop segment. It's not that bad, since you already have all the structure and everything planned. It's just a replacement of glass, and you're getting a power generation. And since it's a commercial client, so their tariff, grid tariff is even higher. That offsets a bit of more on their electricity bills. And so, yeah, that's on the BIPV segment. Any queries, I'll be happy to answer.
Maybe you can share us some numbers, how this, what is the ROI typical, what is the, how many units typical are generated, which are the key customers who are looking at this?
So they are more of like the IT park or maybe data centers, where and the generation what we have seen is almost 2 units per kilowatt compared to the rooftop like 4 or something like that. It's 50% of that on an average.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Sanjeev. I think I will come back with few more questions.
Sure.
But let's hear it from Dr. Gabriel Cooper, who's DER specialist, IFA. Thank you, Gabriel, for your patience. And I believe you're the last speaker. But nonetheless, you have heard from everyone in the India market, what are the new trends. We have also gone through some of these trends as part of our joint report that we have published yesterday. So Dr. Gabriel, what are your views and what do you think, any insights probably on RE plus EV solutions you can talk about, and any global level trends that you think you can share some remarks on? Over to you, Gabriel.
Thanks very much. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Jyoti, for the opportunity to be part of this fascinating panel. I wanted to share with you 5 observations in 5 minutes, reflecting on the report and hopefully drawing on what people have said here so far this afternoon. And giving that international perspectives. I think to start with the increasing size of the modules, what continues to amaze me is the success story of solar technology. It keeps rolling down that cost curve. We're seeing these bigger modules globally. Obviously, that's bringing down continuously the costs. Professor Martin Green, who some of you may know as basically the technology godfather of solar at the University of New South Wales in Sydney, his prediction is that the costs of solar will halve again. So from in the US 20 cents per kilowatt down to per watt down to 10 cents per watt within the next 3 years. So, you know, we continually think the costs have fallen so far, how much further can they possibly fall? But obviously the increasing size of the modules is now one of the key drivers of those falling costs. So that was the first observation. The second one is I think we're seeing a really interesting change where the focus to date has been really on PV, and more PV, whether at utility scale or rooftop scale. And I don't think we'll continue to think of solar technology as a technology in its own right. More and more, it's going to be the solar plus either mobile or stationary batteries. So a couple of the panelists have talked about you know, the challenges around the cost currently, particularly in India, of battery storage. That's a challenge internationally. But, you know, as with PV, those costs are continuing to fall. And particularly rooftop solar and electric vehicles as mobile batteries are perfect technology partners. Obviously, there's a really interesting situation whereby in India, there's huge government support for electric vehicle adoption. And so there's an opportunity there to partner that with rooftop solar at those EV charging stations. In Australia, we have basically the opposite circumstance where we've got a huge amount of PV, but far less government support for EV charging and for EV adoption. Starting finally in the last couple of months to see greater government support. But whether it comes from either direction, I think there's, you know, huge business opportunities and huge opportunities also to support the grid by combining those two things together. You know, you want to have the solar wherever the EVs are charging. And along the same lines, my third observation is really about the multi-use PV. So obviously in your report and as has been discussed, the opportunities with building integrated PV, and also it remains to be seen how long this will take to come. But even my latest, we talk about BIPV, there's also the potential for EIPV, so EV integrated PV. So seeing actually our vehicles with solar panels on them and being able to travel tens of kilometers just on a sunny day, obviously, on the basis of the PV panels on those vehicles. And those trends, I think, are really important, as people have highlighted, particularly where space is limited. That's not very much of an issue in Australia, but very important, obviously, in Indian cities with very high population densities. Fourthly, on the sort of efficiency point and of the cost reduction point, I think it hasn't been discussed so far today, but I see energy efficiency as absolutely vital to improve the returns on PV investment. And it's obviously an important one where governments can provide a huge amount of support, whether that's minimum standards for air conditioning in residential or commercial buildings, for minimum standards, or funding efficiency upgrades to motors and pumps and more industrial applications, and also for ensuring that if in future, in particular, the solar facilities are participating in any sort of virtual power plants, that you get the best value out of those exports. I wanted to finish finally and fifthly on the point that's been discussed quite a lot about diesel replacement, which I think is obviously a fantastic opportunity in India, where you've got, I gather, 90 gigawatts of diesel generators behind the meter. And, you know, it's not economic in a lot of places now, but obviously will those costs will continue to come down and the opportunities will continue to increase. I think that's really important, not just obviously for reducing the reliance on fossil fuels and the costs there, but also for enhancing resilience. And obviously there was a discussion about, you know, when it's minus 25, your hydro is not going to run particularly efficiently. In Australia, we're probably looking at the opposite circumstance. So in bushfire prone areas, for example, really important, and a lot of communities are looking at getting partially or fully off diesel backup generators by putting in battery and remote storage systems. And it's important also to remember that this is not just for residential areas, but also for the potential for it to support other forms of economic activity in Australia. There, so many of the mine sites now are massively reducing their reliance on diesel and putting in very large solar farms, sometimes wind farms as well, and just truckloads and truckloads of large utility scale batteries. So I'll end there and look forward to participating further in the discussion.
Thank you, Gabriel. Yes, those are the very valid points that you have raised. And I think this is a constantly evolving market in terms of new technologies that are going to come up. So let's see how things will evolve going forward. So let's have a short panel discussion on with some of the question answers today. Arijit, I have some questions from you specifically. I hope you're there. I'm not able to.
Yeah, I'm there. Sorry.
Yes, Arijit. So Arijit, do you have some numbers in terms of shipments that's there? You are seeing, launches only into mono modules. So what are the shipment trends in India market specifically for bifacial that is there and for large size modules? Do you have some stats to share here?
In 2020, we achieved a shipment of 1.5 gigawatt of all modules in India. And this year alone, by now, we have achieved more than 2 gigawatt, and the total shipment should touch 4 gigawatt approximately. Regarding bifacial, I'll be little, the numbers are little closer to our heart right now. But it will be three digits in megawatt.
Okay, approximate percentage, if you know, 5%, 10%, anything. See, these are just the numbers I'm asking to understand how the inquiries.
Really bad in calculation of percentage.
That's okay, Arijit. I will not push you on this. But the second most thing, you started a bit on talking about the higher size modules installations in India. So maybe specific to rooftop, what is your experience been, or if there are already some installations on a higher size panels, what has been your experience in terms of, do you think a lot of developers are exploring that opportunity now? The market is
when it comes to higher size modules, I think CNI customers are the first adopter of higher size modules. Mostly because the level of knowledge is less, understanding of design is also little, not as par with the utility scale developers. And also we human being, we like novelty. So anything comes new, so it will be, well adapted. So, but at the same time, after some time, we try to understand, we basically get to understand the difficulties, and those difficulties have started coming. Now there are, as I said, that LONGi has always shown the path in technological innovation or technological evolution of module technology. So when we actually limit ourselves, we have seen that we have limited ourselves in 182 mm wafer size. We have not gone beyond that. That has a reason for that. Like I said, just like I told, that a mobile phone cannot grow beyond your palm size. So you can use when those tabs came. I have seen people trying to talk on those tabs, but it doesn't work. So we like novelty, but we come to know about the shortcomings later. But being an expert of module technology, Longi already has done the analysis, and we know that within certain limit, we have to go with innovation, and that innovation will come in terms of yield of generation, capturing of backlight, and a lot of other things will come on the way. But growing the size of the module in terms of watt peak is not very mature way of developing. There are other ways also. When we used to use the very small mobile screen and text, it was difficult. Then come BlackBerry, then iPhone, and now we have big screen mobiles. But remember one thing: the mobile has never grown beyond your palm size. That is the boundary condition. So there will be a boundary condition in module technology as well. And we are seeing adaptation of new technology in CNI specifically very, very wide. They adapt new technologies very, very quickly. And these also comes with a lot of learnings. And we are seeing that the size of I'll talk specifically now. 450 and 455, 450, 460. This has been kind of a path breaking in CNI business. We have seen we can actually maximize the capacity that we can install in this particular site. These modules are 2 meter by 1 meter approximately. But then the size of module grew, and with the power rating of the module, the size of the module also grew. And with that, we have seen there are some feedbacks from designers, experts in this industry. They are coming back with a kind of feedback that 450 and 455 actually can accommodate maximum kilowatt in a rooftop. I'm not generalizing it. It's different for different situation. So that is why when Longi introduced HIMO 5, which is basically 540 and above, we specifically said that this is for utility scale and this is for ground mounted installations. There has been a reason, because these are little bigger modules. But beyond that, I don't think Longi will make a 1 kilowatt module very soon. It will not go like that.
Thank you, Arijit. I will take one specific question from the attendees as well, which is for you only, which is there any trend of moving from P-type to N-type in module, and what is future efficiency figure estimated by Longi?
See, the maximum conversion efficiencies are on paper normally. When we have seen beyond 21 as efficiency, we have seen that transition already. Now we are going towards 22, but the maximum conversion in case of N-type TOPCon is 25.26, I think, and then P-type is 25.02, if I'm not very wrong. So, but these are all again not tested in ground conditions. So we have launched our N-type module, and this N-type module again is going to be a kind of new technology in the market, and I'm sure the industry will again evolve and adopt this technology as a new technology in the industry. And again, as I said, that the limitation of power rating in that module is 570. But let me tell you, when you are actually running your presentation, I noticed something. Yield of generation in monopark, it is somewhere around 4.5, 6, 5, something like that. We have done some installation with single axis tracker, which has achieved 8.3 unit, a kind of, and we ourselves were like astonished with that figure. I've been in the module industry and I'm not very old in this company, but it was fascinating after seeing the result. I'm sure it is not in all the sites. It all depends upon how we are installing, how good the installation has been, and how we have utilized our trackers and everything. But come on, 8.3 unit, it's insane. So sometime, the achievement or the performance of LONGi modules fascinates me as well. So
Thank you, Arijit. I know that's a astonishing number to us as well, but I think with trackers, we have heard that much energy gain is possible. Yeah. But it's, I think, especially for rooftop CNI, having bifacial installations with trackers, it's a very limited applications and site conditions.
That's not a question. Absolutely not.
Yeah,
I was, talking about a different aspect.
Yes. Okay, Arijit, thank you. Let's take my next question, Sanjeev, perhaps to you. What is the are you, so first of all, is USolar also active in the residential side of the business? If that is the case, then one specific question from the attendees is, what is the optimum size of modules suitable for residential rooftop projects, say up to 5 kilowatt?
Yeah, I think that 380 or 450 is the maximum. I think that's suitable for rooftops. And that's a mono park, I think 380. That's what the Indian, and from the LONGi, I think 450 we have been using for the residence segment as well.
Right. Sanjeev, and what are the typical challenges that you have seen in some of your CNI installations with a higher size panel?
Yeah, so handling is a major issue. Like if you go beyond 450, it's really not recommended for the rooftop segment. For ground mount, it can be okay, but for rooftop segment, we don't see, because there is a shifting of models and all those lot of breakages there and sagging of the models been seen in the market. So we have been avoiding for the CNI segments. Only for the ground mount, we can think of using those. But mostly, I think 450 is perfect size for the rooftop segments.
Okay, so despite giving higher generation because of handling,
so that the size is higher. So
yeah.
Actually, the size is higher, and then if you see the coverage, we have been doing some coverage analysis also. 450 coverage versus like 550 or something like that. Works up to be same. So on the capacity of the roof, so it doesn't increase the capacity of the roof.
Yeah. Understood. Okay. Thank you, Sanjeev. My next set of questions are for you, Randeep, now. So there are two things I want to understand specific to battery storage. Are you seeing increasing inquiries from the customers? If yes, how much of that is actually being converted? And do you think consumer awareness is still not that good in terms of battery storage that is there? That is the major hindrance. It's a push from the developers and EPC players rather than from consumers.
Yeah, that's how it is. Actually, see, current challenge from how I look at it is like that the CNI segment has been mostly focused in the industrial segment and majorly in the cities. Right, last 5-7 years we have been developing in Maharashtra, in Tamil Nadu, in Delhi, Haryana, Gurgaon. So these are the places where you hardly have power cuts today. Right, even in Gurgaon, 5 years back, there was like even the Leela Ambience hotel I had evaluated like 5 years back. There was a regular power cut of around 5-6 hours during the summer seasons, but they do not have those kind of power cuts now. So although we have installations across, say, around 350 odd roofs across India, but then these are the customers who are located in a locality where you do not typically have power cuts. If you are not having power cuts, then you have to pitch in with other methods to plug in the cost viability to make it cost effective. So then what you need is a lot of data, right? And data is something which nobody wants to share. And when you, even for our own customers, we have been trying to figure out what are the loopholes. For example, of how much impact it will have if there is a voltage drop in their system, overall system. For example, in a textile mill or a IT segment, you cannot have a 5-minute power cut at all, or a 2-minute power cut also. So what will be the impact of those power cuts or a frequency regulation or a voltage regulations, and how will it impact how is it impacting their businesses, and how much they are ready to invest? Even for steel industry, you cannot have a power cut or any power cut at all. And it has to be in milliseconds, microseconds. So for those consumers, you will effectively need to find out other ways of pitching storage vis-a-vis just replacing DG sets, right? And DG sets is a thing where you will have to go to the hilly states. You will have to tie up with the government or the NGOs there and to make the project viable. So that's a separate challenge into altogether, because one as a capex in OPEX investment, it's very difficult to put a rooftop or a ground mounted 1 megawatt with 1 megawatt storage in Himachal without government support predominantly, because you cannot have somebody deployed who will be collecting money out there. So it is practically not possible. So it has to be, the financing has to be taken from a different source. Vis-a-vis when you have customers, then there you do not have the exact requirement as on that because of the financial viability of. So we are trying to get that data. Obviously, the last 1 year has been a complete waste, I would say, because plants have been not running at full capacity. Anyways, they are not running on the full load. So what existing solar plants has been not being able to feed power to the entire system itself. So how do you pitch energy storage now? So it can be only done where there is complete replacement of these sets. So that's why we are trying to get the data from our existing sets of customers and trying to figure out. So in general, except for the project that has got commissioned a few days back in the Brahmakumaris and a couple of other 1 or 2 projects in South, and all the bigger entities, all the developers, like 3-4 major developers, have been trying to do storage for last at least a year, at least, or more than that, like 18 months or so. They have their own team. We have our own team. Everybody has their own team. But then the exactly niche application and finding the right solution, and also the balancing with the cost of economics still is a challenge. So it will take some time, obviously, to get it through.
Thank you, Randeep. I have one more question, but before that, I have request to some of the panelists that please, if you can answer some of the Q&A box that is given the live questions, that will be very helpful. So Randeep, my next question for you is, if you can tell me, what are the projections for next 2 years in terms of right now the tariffs are 7 to 8 rupees per unit, for battery storage plus solar. With the falling battery prices and the price is expected to be less than 100 rupees, do you have how much fall is expected in some range? I'm not asking for specific number, probably some range, which you think every year this is the fall.
That is, so even the 7-8 rupees number, it is only viable for a 1 hour kind of a backup. If your number of hours are more, then that number doesn't work. If you have a 3-hour backup, the numbers are around 16, 17 rupees, or at least 15 rupees or 14, 15 rupees, I would say. So even your number, what you are saying, it will vary on capacity, on the sizing. I think your report says it's around for 1 megawatt, right? 1 megawatt and above we are, yeah. So now what we are seeing is that all of our major customers are in the range of 200 kilowatt. So what do I do now? So even for 200 kilowatt, even getting the storage from China or any other country, because there are hardly reliable suppliers in India, to be honest, right? And for the government tenders, there is a separate challenge altogether, because the government wants that you should bring in a EPC contractor who has executed X amount of projects, and India, and nobody has done. So nobody qualifies. So you'll have to have a complete EPC player who will bring in the battery storage, EPCS, BMS, everything, and give it as a solution to it. So how do the Indian players get the right kind of experience and exposure? So that will not happen so easily. So, and in the private segment, typically the customer size lies between, say, 100 kilowatt to 500 kilowatt. And then even if you add storage, it will be not more than 1 megawatt hour. So if you assume 2 hours of backup for a 500 kilowatt solar system. So price prediction is all dependent on the kind of requirement you have. But then if you typically only say just for your sake of giving, because I do not hide numbers. I do not have that habit of hiding numbers in general, but because this, even if you because in 6 months everything will change, right? Whatever I say, it will not hold more than 3-4 months. I am definitely sure, because you are already like last 10 years, you have seen this trend of solar. Nobody can predict the prices. So the battery prices, I would say it's already in that $100 range, already in that range. But then obviously with the kind of constraints, logistical challenges are more, I would say. We are not getting shipments from China. They are not ready to give it on FOR basis at site. They are saying that you procure it, you get it from the China port, FOB China. So these are the kind of logistical challenges, and also the tension between the countries, geopolitical issues. Those all factors play more when you comes to the cost. At this point of time, I think obviously it will settle down in course of time. But today, as you see, if you buy storage, whatever your 7 rupee tariff might not hold actually on ground. It might be slightly more, slightly less. So I think it has typically in the international market, the prices already gone down to that level. So yes, it's very difficult to predict.
Thank you, Randeep. Very valid reasoning, I would say. Okay, Vipin, I have next question for you specifically, and which is because of this COVID situation in last 1.5, 2 years, have you seen any implications on that on your business? And do you think, or you think the market is business as usual for you? And what are your for next 1 or 2 years? What do you think for Goodby, how important India market will be?
Yeah, Jyoti, because you see, last 2 years was quite a testing times for everyone. So we are not apart from that. So we have also seen quite a hit out in the business since everybody is going through the phase. But now things has been coming to a normal pace. See, market is trying to get on the pace again. With in terms of residential, we have seen good activities being happening in many states, like in Gujarat or Rajasthan or Punjab. And on C&I scale, yes, there is a pace on the activities on business side. So things are getting changed, and on the positive side, as we are coming to like economy is getting boosted up. So yes, impact was there for last 2 years, but now it is getting recovered bit of it. And
Thank you,
for
Vipin.
like coming 2 years, yes, if things will be in under control situation, like the corona things will be in control, then surely we will be back on track. The whole industry itself.
Sure, Vipin. I think everyone is hoping that things are back to normalcy now.
Yeah.
Okay, so for my last question for this session today, which is for you, Gabriel, if you can share some insights, we have heard about a lot of battery storage adoption trends and the difficulties, but specific to Australia market, do you think we have seen there is a lot of residential rooftop solar that's there? So do you think there are new technology innovations, or there is a higher adoption of battery lithium-ion batteries for such installations?
Thanks for the question, Jyoti. We actually have the same challenge as you do in India. And in fact, the financial payback for home battery energy storage systems is lower than in India, than the 7 to 8 years in your report for C&I. So we're looking at still over 10-year payback period. The very interesting thing is that for last year, 1 in 8 homes that installed rooftop solar also installed battery storage. So these are people who are not making a financial decision, but they're either future-proofing their system because they're concerned about rising power prices in future, or they're seeing the potential opportunity to participate in virtual power plants or other forms of revenue in the future, or they simply want to have a system that's either more resilient and or that they want to reduce the reliance on our grid, which is still unfortunately majority coal-fired in Australia. So what I think is very interesting is obviously we've got a lot of battery manufacturers who've come to Australia, and we've got battery manufacture in Australia now. It's great to know that that's looking like it's going to happen at scale in India as well. And obviously, not only are there just going to be falling costs with scale, but obviously falling costs with local manufacture. What we're seeing in parallel, though, is huge adoption of large grid scale batteries, not only for capacity and for on-demand generation, but also for participating in our frequency control and ancillary services markets. And now we also have just some tentative forays of companies that are starting to aggregate small scale battery storage in virtual power plants to participate in what we call our FCAS markets. And that's really interesting because at least at the moment and for the next few years, there is revenue to be made there. And I'll perhaps just answer one of the other questions in the Q&A to finish on. There was a question about all of the finance dimensions of everything we've discussed today. And to answer that person, I think it was anonymous. The good news is that obviously JMK Research is working with IEFA on a report coming up that follows this technology trends report to look at the financing trends and the challenges there. So for everyone on the webinar, stay tuned for that report and hopefully another webinar on that topic. And thanks to everyone for such an informative discussion.
Thank you, Gabrielle, for giving the international perspective. Hopefully there are a lot of learnings for India market as well. And yes, as you've rightly pointed out, we are working on another report on emerging financing trends in rooftop C&I market in India. So probably some of the financing related questions we will pick up at that time. Now, thank you everyone for joining us for this webinar. Thank you to all the panelists for sharing such wonderful, enriching insights. Special thanks to IFA, Longi, and Goodvi for supporting us in this webinar. The recording of the session will also be available on our website shortly. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, all of you.